Coalgate is proof that the truth can be unearthed and still be packaged in bullshit. Okay. I mean, the Controller General of Accounts is reporting that 57 private parties have received presumptive gains of 186 lakh crores because coal blocks were taken away from the public sector Coal India and gifted to private parties without public auction. And this has resulted in the filing of an FIR. Now, this is serious bullshit. Presumptive gain as a category of crime is outrageous. It's absurd. I mean, if my senior colleague Mr. Chidambaram decides to give me a tax break like he did the last time he was finance minister, the presumptive gain to me and the loss to the exchequer should lead to the filing of an FIR? Look, the Coal Mines Nationalisation Act of 73 encourages the government to allocate coal fields to private parties in two circumstances. One, where private parties are engaged in certain specific end uses including manufacturing, iron and steel and so forth, power. And B, where these coal fields are in small isolated pockets and it's not economical to develop them. I think the words are, and I'm going to read them for you, sufficient for scientific and economic development in a coordinated and integrated manner. Okay. Now, at least since 1993, every government has allocated coal mines to private individuals. No exceptions. More recently, between 2004 and I think March 2011, the Coal Ministry allotted 195 coal blocks to private players for various reasons. And I think about 115 of these were awarded for power projects. So when I see this scam from that perspective, I don't get it. What is the shouting all about? Of course not. Quite the contrary. I'm sure a great many of these were allotted not on merit or to the right people or for the right reasons. Okay. See, there are three sides to every greaseball stool story. And which one you tell depends upon who you are. Now, if you are an intelligent, honest bureaucrat trying to do your job while blocking out the ugly truth, this is what you would say. One, if you want to move to an auction-based regime, you're going to have to change the law. Given the paralysis in Parliament, how do you rate your chances? Second, under the Mines and Minerals Development Regulation Act 1957, applicants for mining licenses must be recommended by state governments. Now, given how state governments have hustled, muscled and muzzled King Singh in recent years, how would you rate your chances on that? I mean, you may as well just breed pigs with wings. Now, that's a line that Montek Singh Ahluwalia has taken, and rightly so. In short, Tina, there is no alternative. Now this, frankly, I mean, to put it bluntly, this is intellectualization of crass reality for the intellectually refined. Or you can call it double speak for dummies. Whatever you prefer. The eternal truth is in the other two legs of the greaseball stool. Now if you are an arm's length observer, you would look at the rise of all these new-fangled mining barons. I'll give you an example, this Abhijit group. Now, this group consists of 60 companies, out of which only 2 have small revenue generating road projects. The rest is all M&A. What does M&A mean? M&A means you get a coal block, you show them to a bank and you take out a loan. Then you also show the same coal blocks and you get a power project on the strength of the coal linkage. Then you sign a PPA with the state government. Then you go to a bank and you say, because I've got a PPA now I need financial closure. So you get your funding and you get to financial closure. Then you draw down even more money. You pay some of it off to some OEM contractor or something. What do you do with most of it? You buy a private jet. You facilitate your political constituency or bureaucratic buddies, people who allot you blocks and things. And for the rest, what do? You chuck it about in flashy celebrations. I'll just give you an example. I mean, Manoj Jaiswal's daughter's wedding in Phuket in 2009 is still talked about as one of the most opulent. Okay, it's still on the website. You can see it. Now, the guy hasn't stopped. Okay, last year he had that rapper, Punjabi rapper Hardcore. She was prancing about on stage at his birthday. This year he came out looking like Amitabh Bachchan in Yorana, with a lit jacket, all tube lights flashing and so forth. And he had, I believe, half a dozen European starlets skimpily clad prancing about with him and stuff like that. By the way, I mean, in case you didn't know, the Union Coal Minister, Shri Prakash Jaiswal, is a named arbitrator in one of his cases. And I love a fun guy, and I'm not a prude, but let's face it, fortunes like these are made purely on coal allotments, and nobody is giving it away for free. The thing is, this country is crawling with mining barons. So for me to sit here and criticize the Abhijit group is pretty unfair. I'll give you another example. Prancing about on that stage with hardcore was this Congress MP Vijay Darda. Now, since everybody is in the game, why would I want to criticize Vijay Darda? And I don't. But what we need to keep in mind is the third leg of this grease ball, which is a political leg. Now, if you're going to talk about the political leg of the grease ball mining stool, who comes to mind? I mean, the mother of them all, right? The granddaddy of them all, and that means Koda. Now, let me give you a little total recall about Madhu Koda. He was the son of a labourer in the iron ore mines of Chaibasa, 160 kilometers or so from Ranchi, in the middle of nowhere. Okay, he began his political career as an activist with the All Jharkhand Students Union or some such. Then he won the 2000 assembly elections on a BJP ticket. Next time around, the BJP denied him a ticket. So he contested as an independent and he won. Then he agreed to support the minority BJP government provided that he was made the Minister for Mines and Geology. Jackpot, boss. Next year, he withdraws his support, puts together a coalition of parties to become Chief Minister between 2006 and 2008. And he retains the mines portfolio all this time. And in this time, he makes 2,000 crores. Now, how did he pull all of this off? Outlook magazine is where I get my data from. First, in those days, in that state, every recommendation by a state government for the allotment of a mine to the union government brought in a bribe of between 10 and 12 crores. Koda cleared 47 these mines in one day. 2. Powerful politicians were entitled to a 25% cut from existing mines as protection money. Koda had his finger in every coal pile. 3. Koda's key aides invested in existing mines and lifted hundreds of tons of material overnight, night after night, without paying royalties to the government, taxes and all the other stuff that adds on to the cost. Finally, 4. Koda charged between 50 lakhs and 1 crore to transfer bureaucrats to lucrative postings. This whole story was blown up by Prabhat Khabar, which is owned by that Usha Martin group. Usha Martin was not having a nice time when Koda was Chief Minister. So, when you look at the composite picture, what do you get? You get that India sits on these vast mineral resources. You get that Indian politicians have created a complex plethora of laws and regulations which arrogate to themselves the absolute power to mate and dole this wealth to their sponsors, clients, cronies for cash and for favors. This money is then used to win elections in the short run and create great political dynasties in the long run. And those who receive these mining concessions at highly subsidized prices then use these assets to leverage loans, buy infrastructure projects, get more funds and live it up. In the long run, they create new political dynasties. In this way, entire classes of politicians and industry subsist on this system. Sometimes they are crossover artists. Politicians become industrialists to close the feedback loop, like a snake eating its tail. At other times, industrialists become politicians. Either ways, a great many rags to riches stories in India are natural resource usurpation stories. This is how India has been, how it is, and how it will be for a long time unless something radical changes. I mean, it's for us to decide to change it or not. Though the we is not you and me. I mean, the we is a large proportion of Indians who are aware of what is going on and across the political spectrum, and they have to come together to do it. So let's be pragmatic. And this is really a mixed bag. Our crony democracy has put the eclectic relationship between politician and businessman to a fairly laudable purpose, which is to give us a largely functioning democracy of 1 billion illiterates that the entire world grudgingly more or less admires. We hate the system, but the result isn't that bad. The question is, the real question is, how would you fund India's democracy? How would you fund elections if you did not allow the political classes to indulge in this wholesale diversion of funds? If you want to change any of this, you first have to figure out how you're going to have political parties fund their elections. So for this reason, talking about corruption at election time and then forgetting about it afterwards has always been part of the political tamasha. Everybody understands that we need to have these scams. So taking a sledgehammer to Salman Khurshid or getting after Robert Vadra is hardly appropriate. It's just unfair. And this is why corruption has never been an electoral issue in India. TN Session found out this to his great surprise. The question is, will Arvind Kejriwal be equally unpleasantly surprised? I think he will be. But if you ask me what I really wanted, I'd rather I was wrong than that he was unpleasantly surprised.